Alright guys, before you watch this video, check out Classic Car Creations, otherwise found at duckshit.net/CCC. Once you get over there, subscribe to Earl immediately, because as soon as this car gets out of here, Earl's the guy who's going to be doing the body work on it. So if you want to get updates to this car, you will not see them anywhere else. You have to go to Earl's channel, because he'll be doing all the final completion of the body work on this car, all of the beautiful paint. He's going to do the color reveal. So if you don't subscribe to Earl, you're going to miss out on anything. I don't want to hear you guys coming over to my channel and say, hey, why haven't you put any Beetle updates up recently? Well, that's because I'm not doing Beetle updates. Earl's doing them. Classic Car Creations, duckshit.net/CCC. Subscribe. Thanks, guys. Hey everybody, welcome back to DuckmanCycles and VW Garage. I'm your host, the Duckman. We're back today with my 1956 Beetle, also known as Eleanor. And she's come a long way, a very, very long way. And I'm only putting this video up because, well, not because I have a whole ton of progress that really needs to be shown or that I'm doing work today, but rather just because I've been getting so many questions about so many things. So it's kind of a Q&A kind of video, but I just want to show a little progress update to show where this car is and exactly what we've got going on with it coming up in the very near future. First things first, I got a beer in my hand here. Let me pop this open. I had it on top of Eleanor while I was setting the cabinet up, and it fell down and it hit the ground really, really hard. So it's probably gonna blow up. So here we go for a laugh. Ah, that wasn't too bad. I expected a whole lot worse. My first one of the, almost choked. First one of the day. Here's to you, Eleanor. Anyways, let's go ahead and show you a couple things that's been going on. I've been running around the car and I've been patching holes. And some people ask, you know, oh, you got a little pinholes everywhere. No, it's not pinholes. I mean like holes. Like wherever I put body pieces together and there's a little triangular piece, a sliver that needed to go in there. And I said, as far back as 3 years ago, oh, I'll get back to that. 3 years later, I'm finally doing it. You know, I haven't had the car quite 3 years. Thinking back, maybe it's been 2.5, but it's been a while nonetheless. I got it in February. I think the same week as Boomer was born. I have to check on that, but I think Eleanor came home during that same week. She was totally rust bucketed, as you remember. She came out of 6 feet of seawater during Hurricane Ivan back in 2004. Pensacola was just devastated, absolutely devastated. You saw what happened in Panama City. I think it was probably even a little bit worse here at that time. The storm was just much more significant, much stronger than what hit Panama City. The good thing about the Panama City storm is it kind of went through a lot of unpopulated areas, whereas the Pensacola area is a lot more denser populated, and that's where Ivan tore up. So anyway, 6 feet of seawater, the car sat underneath water for a couple days. And then after that, the owner just kind of dumped it in his yard, let it get rained on. And for 10 years, that's the way it sat, until a new owner got it, and he had some great plans and ambition of doing something with it, but he did nothing. So he ended up sitting on it for another 2 years while it sat outside. Finally, I got it. And I've been putting her back together. And since I got this car, everybody told me there's no way possible that you're gonna ever be able to put that car together. That car is a piece of junk, and it's toast, you know. You're never going to find all the rust in it. Never. You're never going to find the hidden rust, is actually the way it was put. There's hidden rust. I cut this car apart down to the smallest pieces. The biggest piece was, geez, I'm thinking, it might have been just a section of the roof, which I didn't use, probably about that big. Actually, you know what? The front hood was the biggest piece, because the stock hood I never used. I actually replaced the hood because it was just too damaged around the edges. There was no sense in me fixing that when it was just real easy to just bolt another hood on. So, yeah, this is Eleanor. Let me show you what we're doing. All right, first things first, looking at the side here, check it out. We've got no door hinges on the outside. This is the biggest question that I get. Everybody wants a recipe as to how to do this to their own car. Will I give them the measurements? And the honest answer is no. And not because I don't want you copying me, but rather because my measurements aren't going to work on your car. As I've already discovered when I did the work on the other side and then came over here to do this side, the measurements didn't match. They were off significantly. And I don't even know if you're even going to get the same hinge pack that I've got. If you get a different hinge set, the measurements are completely blown out. There are some things that I would do a little differently if I was going to do it again. And chances are I'm not going to do it again. This was a pain in the ass. One time done. That's it. But if I were going to do this again, I think I would take the two hinges and I'd put them closer together a few inches. The reason why I'm saying that is if they're closer together, the pillar is thicker here in the middle. And as they're closer together, it'll push it further away from right here. And when you open this door, it has a tendency for this part of the door to want to clip the A-pillar right here. And that, if you were to use a different hinge set or if you were to put them closer together, it would clear that better. The only reason I put them that far apart is because, well, that's how they were manufactured. And the second thing is because I've seen hidden hinges get put in before and they're really close together. And to me, the door didn't look stable. It looked like you could twist it around and it just wasn't going to be strong. So I wanted to put them further apart. This is very doable, but this, again, as I said, is a pain in the ass. It's not something I would recommend to most anybody. Looking back, if I were to talk to my past self, I would say, yeah, you don't want to get into that. That was just a real pain in the ass. So I'll talk you down. Have somebody else do it. Just make sure they know what they're doing and get ready to pay for it. It's not an easy task. It was not an easy task at all. But the wonderful thing is it does look good. The stock door handles do work, of course. I've got a brand new set of chrome ones. People keep asking me, are you going to use these junky handles? No, I'm going to replace these things. Inside here at the dashboard, this is where a lot of my recent questions came from. Right up here, you'll see all the work that I did to repair that dash. I mean, it was just full of holes. It was Swiss cheese across the front. And not so much because of rust, but rather because previous owners had just drilled extra holes for extra switches or other nonsense. And all the stock locations of switches, and even the radio hole, I called it Quasimodo's radio because, he has one really big eye and he's hunchbacked, so it was all kind of leaned over. Well, the radio hole was misshapen just like that. So that was Quasimodo's radio. So it was easier for me just to weld over the entire thing, and start over with a clean slate, and then I can drill or cut the holes where I want them to be. But I have no plans of putting a stock radio back into this, or even a stock looking radio back in. I will probably put some kind of modern stereo in it if I use a stereo at all. I do like to listen to FM radio, so a stereo would be nice, but some people have said, why don't you use Bluetooth system? Frankly, I think Bluetooth sucks. I don't like the delay in the audio, and I think the audio quality is kind of flat, so I stay away from Bluetooth. But I have no problem using an auxiliary cable and plugging into something else. So I could just use an amplifier hidden away somewhere and install stereo, but that's trim stuff. So we're not really talking too much with trim today, and until I get the car back. You have to have the paint on it before you can put the trim on. So those are a few options that I've got. I also mentioned in the previous video I'd like to, behind the dash grill that's up here, I'd like to cut that out maybe and drop a tablet or something behind it and have it kind of flip down, so that way you can get to the little screen and you could do your whatever and have something that is modernized but at the same time still looks like it's from 1956. That's the idea. I'm trying to use a little bit of retro classic stuff and keep things as they were, or as close as Volkswagen factory might have done it had they have done these things themselves. That's the whole idea, is to make it look stock factory and fool people that don't know otherwise. All right, closing this door back up. You get a good look down the profile of the car. Check it out. Look along that belt line. Right along here. Nice and smooth the whole way down to the hood. Whew. Beautifully smooth. This is the way the car should have been shaped. In fact, looking at it, it looks a little peculiar to me. It looks a little strange. There's just something a little bit off not seeing the hinges sticking out. And I'm just noticing this probably more today than I have in previous, because today, with everything on, the hood has not been back on this car until today. And that totally sets off the difference of the shape of the car, because without this here, there's this huge chunk missing, so you don't quite get the same look at everything. Everything's coated down in phosphoric acid. Because whenever this thing does get transported, if there's any possibility it does end up in some rain or something, we don't have to worry about it excessively rusted, because this will stop it from flash rusting anything major anyway. This little orange that you see in here, phosphoric acid right on it, gone, just like that. But if it were bare metal and it were to sit like that for a couple days while it's in transit, yeah, you could end up with a real shitty mess. That's where we're at on this side. In the back, let me show you in the back. I can put my beer down again and I'm probably gonna wind up dropping it. In the back is the rear hatch that I installed. This was a very popular modification. I got a lot of feedback on that one. This hatch in here is actually from a bus. I believe it's from a 78 bus. Yeah, you can put one in your Beetle yourself. I don't mind if you copy my idea or my concept or my plans. Once again, am I going to give you measurements? No, I'm not. You cut out the piece that you need and you make it fit yourself. That's what I did. Nobody helped me. Okay, there it is. Folds right down where it belongs. Latched, just like stock. And of course there's a piece of insulation that goes on the inside of that to keep it not only from transmitting noise into the cabin, but it'll also be for heat purposes. So that'll be good. I'm not quite done back here. Look at this, it's stuck. It needs to be lubricated already. They were working nice and smoothly the other day, but not so much anymore. I'm working on a little bit of an idea back here. I don't just want to have the hatch. I want a little more than the hatch. So I've got additional plans for this, and I'll talk about that in the future when we get the car back from paint. Because I'll be making a little bit more custom metal, I think, and get this thing squared away. But yeah, this all works out good. So during transport, I have no problem with just leaving the hatch in place when it gets shipped to Earl, because it's not going anywhere. It's not going to come out of there. There's my brand new hole saw, so I can cut that 2-inch hole saw. Oh, you guys don't know. Let me show you. All right, down below, following the A-pillar down, there's a 2-inch hole that I drilled in here. I cut that out with a hole saw, so that way I have access to the lower hinges. They have a nut on the bottom of them, and it's impossible to not only hold the nut on, but to get a wrench onto it, so that way you can tighten down the hinge pins. So I cut a 2-inch hole in there to make use of that. I don't know why Volkswagen did do that themselves, because if the damn heater hoses come off, you're supposed to use that stupid little hole in there to work them into place, which makes it practically impossible. So yeah, having a 2-inch hole in there, it makes a lot more sense. Has it structurally weakened the car? I don't think so. If I had the ability to stamp it and turn it into a 3-dimensional hole, so that way I could, make a ring around it, it would helps if I don't accidentally close the lid on the camera. But if I could stamp it 3-dimensionally and put a ring, into it, it would probably strengthen it dramatically. But on its own, I don't think it's going to hurt anything, because it only went through the very thin skin of inside the A-pillar over here, just behind the hole. There's the much heavier structural piece of steel, because this is double layered, and that is unaffected, so I have not changed that at all. So I don't think I've changed the structural integrity of the car up here at all. Of course, I did the same thing over on the driver's side too, right up in there. And had I have not done that, like I said, I never would have been able to get to those bolts. So that worked out nicely. Here's a good look at the dashboard again. I really like it smoothed out like that, absolutely smooth. And I'll put a row of stock looking switches all the way across with the nice plastic ivory Volkswagen knobs all the way across there. I could probably squeeze in, I don't know, about 8, 10 of them, maybe even more than that if I do 2 rows. I'll probably make some kind of escutcheon, some kind of a plate that goes on here. Again, something that looks nice and clean and factory. So that way if I do add more switches down the road, I don't have to start drilling more holes or shuffling them all about. I could easily make a new plate and drill them all out to where they need to be and put the plate back on. So that worked out pretty good. I'm really glad I got an ashtray too. I mentioned that once in a previous video, but I found it in a Jacksonville Volkswagen show. The guy wanted $30 for it or something. And when I saw it was only $30, I said, give me that right now. Last time I looked on the Samba, they were just about $100. You might get them for a little less, but right about $100. So when I saw it for 30, yeah, I had to have it. It's the wrong color though. Eleanor was never that color. Kind of a mint green, which I don't think would be a bad color for Eleanor. But we're not talking about color for Eleanor, because guess why? Yes, because Earl is going to be doing the big color reveal up on his YouTube channel. If you have not subscribed to Earl yet, Classic Car Creations, check out duckshit.net/CCC, and that will take you right over to Earl's channel. You will be getting updates from Earl's progress on this car when it gets to him. And again, it'll probably be, oh, I don't know, maybe a week or two before that happens. But let's step out of the car here. It's hot in here because there's no moving air. Woo! Well, hey, thanks for bearing with me. It was really hot inside the car. The air is extremely stagnant. There's a slight breeze right now. I'm sweating like crazy because the humidity is up right about 100%. The temperature dropped a little bit, but earlier it was in the high 90s with nearly 100% humidity, and it was absolutely disgusting. You can see my shirt is just soaked through. And this is the 5th shirt I've put on today since 11 o'clock this morning, and it's only 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And the first one's not even dry yet. So that just tells you how bad it is. This is my first beer of the day. I've been drinking a lot of water, doing my best to stay out of the sun. Thankfully, we got this wonderful cloud cover, which keeps on bringing thunderstorms. But today we tried an experiment. Both Ruby and Eleanor are out of the garage, and the storms keep developing around us, but they keep missing us. And actually, one time the storm even developed, and it reached out with a hand, and it went right around, pinpointed on the map where I was at. It was unbelievable that happened. I thought it was pretty cool looking at the map, you know, to see that. I shared it with one of my friends that works down at the local television station, and I don't know if he does anything with the weather crew or news crew or not. I know he's one of the IT guys, but Daniel, how you doing? And he thought it was kind of funny too. He was laughing at it. So anyway, we're going to try the theory to see if the cars do actually bring rain. We're going to bring out one at a time sometime in the future to see if it causes a storm, or having both of them out as I do this time, and if they neutralized each other, or if they, you know, oops, squirted, or if they somehow canceled each other out. Well, we're going to keep on cutting and welding. There's a lot of this kind of stuff that needs to be ground off. There's still some holes up in here that I need to get through, and I'm not too worried about little pinholes. It's the holes that are significant, you know, wherever there's the big slice out of something that needs to be filled up, wherever the joints are put together and there needs to be a patch that goes in between the two seams. I mean, that kind of stuff. Not worried about pinholes very much at all. Most of the pinholes are just, there's a few of them here and there, and the car really is kind of lumpy anyway, and not so much because of me, just because a lot of the repair panels that I put on this car are just dented. So Earl will be filling them up with some really nice Kevlar seal, and he'll be running that over the pinholes just the same, so I don't need to worry about something like Bondo, which by the way has talcum powder in it, which what does it do? It draws water. It's the same stuff I put on my nuts when I'm working outside. Yeah, if you're drawing water up against your metal, because that's how they tell you to put it on directly against the metal, that means it's pulling water in and it's putting it on the metal, so you get rust underneath the Bondo. Eleanor had Bondo up on the roof. This whole area up in here, it was all rust up underneath the Bondo, and I was actually able to peel it off in a sheet sometime after I first got the car. Well, yep, we got the hood back on. The hood works. It's missing a couple little clips in there. We're going to fix that just the same. Up in here, you can see that black patch right there. That was something that I had to add recently. That's where the old fuse box was on the 69 Beetle. This is actually a 69 Beetle front end that was grafted onto here. So I had to cut out the fuse panel in there and make it fit against the oval dashboard that I grafted into place. So yeah, ended up with this big hole, you know, about 8 inches long one way, 4 inches the other way. Yeah, it was a mess. Here's the back side of the dashboard. You can see all the little holes that I welded in there. Those turned out pretty good. In fact, they just about disappeared. I didn't even grind them. They just about disappeared. So you don't even hardly see them. Up inside the hood, that's really the only rust on this car, because this hood was left upside down in a field or something is what I'm imagining it was, because you see that round circle in there. It looks like it had a puddle of water in it. But overall, it's a good hood. It just has a lot of surface rust on it. So Earl's going to sandblast that sucker off and go from there. What I do like about this hood is up in the lip here, somebody put a reinforcement in there, and I just noticed that today. That's the reason why this hood doesn't flex. Because when you pull on it this way, that way, there's barely any flex in it at all. Normally these hoods will, if you push here when you close it, they'll bend here and you get a crack. And the hoods will just split open, and it just makes a horrible mess at an otherwise good hood if you don't take care of it properly. Well, whoever reinforced it really did a good job. That was really nice that they did what they did. I don't think they ever came from the factory that way. It's not that way on my 73 anyway. So that worked out pretty well. Again, we have the hinges with the springs, because it is a 69 Beetle front end, but what I am going to put on is I'm going to return the 1956 hood pin that goes here on the driver's side and put that back into place. I cut it off the 56 front end, whatever's left of the 56 front end. It's actually in pretty good shape, so I'm going to weld it on there. So that way when somebody casually walks past the car, they'll see the prop and they'll think, hey, you know, that's originally a 56. Why are there springs on the hood? I can kind of hide that stuff, I think, with a little bit of carpet and some trickery, but I'm going to leave the springs because, well, Volkswagen upgraded to those on purpose because they're much more practical. So they are going to stay. They are going to stay. Yep. Gas tank is not sitting level right now, in case you're curious. That's because it's up on the body dolly. The body dolly actually takes up some space underneath the tank and pushes it up. I can still close the hood on it though, but yeah, currently it's held up because of that. Well, there it is. There it is, there it is. That's Eleanor, and that's our progress and what we're going on here. And as soon as I have a break, and I don't know when it's going to be, it would be today and yesterday and Sunday had I have had this car in a finished position. But I'm still working on it right now, but I haven't got a service call for work in a couple days, and that's been good for me, except for the rain, to get out here and just keep cutting and welding and grinding and, you know, finishing stuff up on this. So whenever I finally do get that opportunity, I do get that chance, I'm going to get this car loaded up and I'm going to just hightail it the hell out of here. As soon as I know that work is going to be calling me and I have somebody covering me for backup and all the other work, typical work schedule nonsense. You know how it goes. All of you that are watching this, I'm sure you've worked at some point. So anyway, that's the deal on here. Don't forget to subscribe to Earl, duckshit.net/CCC. That way you too will get the updates on Eleanor as they progress. This car will be moving probably real quickly when he first gets it. He says he's going to jump onto it immediately. So you're going to start seeing some really, really cool videos from Earl starting right away. So yeah, subscribe to him. Don't come back to my channel and start asking me, hey, we haven't seen your Beetle. Why aren't you putting up any updates? The reason why is because you need to go to Earl's channel, duckshit.net/CCC. You need to subscribe to Earl or you will not be getting updates on this car. If you want to see what color it's going to be, if you want to see what's going to happen to it, if you want to see just how much of my butchery that Earl has to fix. Sorry, Earl, I know this is going to be some of it. You said the car is pretty good, but I think you're being really nice to me. You need to subscribe to Earl. Once again, duckshit.net/CCC. And before you're done today, there's one more thing I want you to do once you're done subscribing to Earl, and I want you to visit duckshit.net/store so you can get yourself some duck shit merchandise. That's right. If you haven't got your duck shit yet, duckshit.net/store is where you can get it. You can get a DuckmanCycles branded t-shirt. You can get a Ski to the Duck parody t-shirt of Pink Floyd, which I think is pretty cool. A lot of people have complimented on it. Or actually, we've got a Eleanor shirt just the same. Too far gone, we've called it. Is Eleanor really too far gone, or have I just proven everybody wrong? I mean, everybody wrong. There wasn't a single person when I first got this car that told me that this car was even worth a damn, including the guy I got it from. He said it wasn't worth fixing. Well, I seem to have proved everybody wrong. And I managed to put this thing back together, and I got a really, really nice vehicle in the end here. And I just can't wait for that to go off to Earl. Once again, Classic Car Creations, duckshit.net/CCC. Thanks everybody for watching. Really appreciate you. We'll see you later, hopefully with another update on this thing. When I get some more of these things welded and closed. And if I come up with anything that's actually worth demonstrating for work, whatever I do on this, and I might start working on something else in the interim until I know that I can actually take the time off to get this car out of here. It might be Gregory that I get onto. We'll just see. I don't know how it's going to happen. We'll see. But thank you guys for watching. Thanks for bearing with me that this wasn't a work video, that it was a whole lot of this instead. And, well, thank you. Just thank you very much for sticking by me. Thank you very much for everything. I'm so happy that this thing is coming along, and it's going to be a reality. My childhood dream is actually going to be a reality. Thanks for watching, guys. Appreciate it.